Here we are, last one, number 5. What are we interested in? We want grams of HNO3, so that's what we want. So again, you've got the real world, and then you've got the moles that are down here. And I gave you 200 grams of the copper there. So again, we're talking real world to real world. You can't just go 8/3 like that, except in extremely rare circumstances. And again, it's going to get you into trouble. So almost all of these are going to be basically 3-step processes. You're going to have to go from the real world to the chemistry world to the other side of town in the chemistry world, and then back out of that, back up to the real world. So how do you go from grams to the chemistry unit of moles? Well, you got to look up copper, and copper is 63.5 grams per mole. Again, this 3 we're going to ignore right now. We're just going to look it up on the periodic table. Copper is 63.5. Without that 3, we're going to take the 3 into account later. So this is going to be 3.15 moles that you actually have there. Now we want to move across town. Now we're going to take that 3 into account, except that we're going to go from 3 to 8, so we're going to have to get bigger. So we're going to have to multiply that by 8/3 in order to take those into account. And when you do, that gets you about 8.40 moles. And now we want to come out of town here to back up to the real world. And if you add up HNO3, you should get about 63 grams per mole. So if you do that one, you should end up with about 529.2 grams when you do that. Now, this would have been one of those rare cases where you would have gotten really close if you'd have just gone ahead and done the 8/3. And the reason you would have gotten really close is that copper has a mass of 63.5 grams per mole, and nitric acid has a mass of 63 grams per mole. So only by coincidence, that the fact that those two substances just about weigh the same thing, would you have gotten away with it. But in almost every other single case that you can think of, again, it's extremely rare and by coincidence only, you probably would have actually gotten close had you done it the wrong way this particular time. You at least would have gotten really close in the neighborhood, because those two numbers are pretty close to each other. But I recommend not doing it that way, like ever, because it's only going to be by weird coincidence that that occurs.